Hello, everybody. You are back with the Country Chats podcast. I'm delighted to have you tuned in today, and I have a very special guest in today. I'm very excited. I have Mr. James Mcgrath in front of me here on the screen. Myself and James have known each other for a good few years, and we're going to talk all things dance and all things music. And it's great to have you here live with me, James. How's things?
I'm super blessed and delighted to be part of this podcast. It's a very powerful podcast because I don't think there's anybody doing this in relation to country music, and to be part of this, it's brilliant because I've actually looked at other people on this. It's like, yeah, to follow in their footsteps and then people to come. It's like, thank you so much for the opportunity. And for people out there, who want to know about dancing and what the scene's about and more about us and me and you, it gives them a good insight to actually the dancers and us and the music industry, which is brilliant. So you're creating amazing awareness through the podcast that you're providing for people.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks a million. No, I love doing it. And you are the first dancer that I've had on the show. I've, of course, had all the singers and the artists, and I've had 2 or 3 dance teachers. Now, you also are a dance teacher. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But you are, I suppose, you started off as a dancer like myself. You went to the dances. You learned, you're a dancer. So I suppose we're going to talk about that side of things mainly, is what the Irish country music scene is like as a dancer. And then I suppose you got into the teaching and that kind of thing. So James, how did you start dancing, or how did you get into the country music scene?
That's an excellent question. I remember my mum would have had country music on, years and years ago when I was growing up, and different things, and then weddings and seeing people dancing. And I was like, oh, I like that, but I wasn't really pursuing it. And then about 10 years ago, so I'm 31 now, so I was about 21, me and my friend, he asked me to come out one night, and I was like, where? And I was usually, going out to the discos and going out to the pubs. And he was like, oh, there's a country music show on. And I was like, I don't know if it's my thing, to be honest with you. So anyway, I bit the bullet and I went, and it was like a revelation for me. It was like, does this world actually exist? Like you have to understand this, back then, 10 years ago, it wasn't as popular. Like, we were going, and Derek Ryan was only coming on to the scene, and there was a few people coming onto the scene. But when we were going here in the north of Ireland, there was very few people out. It wasn't as packed as what it turned out to be. But I still loved the energy and people like dancing. And from then I got the itch to learn and to then move forward with it. And, I've been out now. One night we were out 5 nights a week, and I love it because of the energy and what it means for people, as in getting away from all the stuff in the week and just going and putting all the effort and all the energy onto the dance floor. It's just, I love it. It's my passion now. And as you said, I have like yourself, I have the pleasure to teach it. I actually went to my first ever class was actually Jared Butler. And I remember learning from him, and to learn from him as well was brilliant. And to learn like different styles and different ways, because down the line we're going to talk about, is there a difference between the north and the south? And there is, and there's different ways and different styles, which is brilliant, which is fantastic, to see this come through and different people bringing different energy to it. So yeah, I was really attracted to the energy of it. I was really attracted to also the people that you met. Like, there was very rarely people drinking, whereas I was coming from the pub scene and the disco scene and dealing with drunks, and even being drunk myself at that time. But then when I went to the dance scene, I didn't really need that. It was more connections through jiving, connections through talking, connections through moving, rather than connection just through the drink, which was a big bonus too, because then you're saving money.
Absolutely. No, you're dead right. And I love how the way you got into the scene was a friend said, come on for a dance. And I feel like that's probably the way it happens for a lot of young lads, early 20s, is somebody else is going, or the girlfriend or someone, and they'll say, Irish, I'll go for the crack. And that kicks it off. And that's a very organic way of it happening, really. It's
absolutely.
Once you're in, you're in.
And I'm so grateful for that friend, to encourage me to do that, and from then, like, well, fast forward, but I have a beautiful fiance from going to the dance scene. If I had made the decision just to stay in the pubs or stay in the disco scene, and not, because there's sometimes in there, out there, especially up here, I don't know if it's like down where you are, but there's actually sometimes there's a negative connotation around country music and jiving, and like there is this pitch that it's all farmers, you know what I mean? When really it's a poor reflection, because it's not all about that. It's not all about the farmer's bash. It's actually there's solicitors that go dancing, there's business owners that go dancing, there's teachers that go dancing, there's loads of different people that go dancing. And for me, that was a big bubble bursted in what I perceived as reality. The perception that I had around dancing was, it's all country and farmers. And it's not a bad thing to say that, but it's like there's more to it than just that.
Yeah, and I suppose when you started going to the dances, like you said, Derek Ryan or the likes were only starting off. So I'm guessing back then there was that perception of it's only farmers, and it probably was a lot then. But obviously, as the years went on, there was such a big change. Like I love, and you're probably the same, I love being able to say that I used to go to the dances when there was not big crowds at Nathan Carter. No disrespect to Nathan, but when he started out and the likes of Derek started out, there was not a big crowd. And I love knowing that I'm in the scene that long, and you are as well, where we were at them gigs where there might only have been 100 people.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps you telling this now, because it gives me flashbacks. I remember I was out and we went to the Tully Glass Hotel in Antrim, and it was a Saturday night, and it was that scarce a crowd. It was Derek Ryan. It was about 8 to 9 years ago, but he actually was meeting people beforehand in the crowd, like sitting down. He was going over to the tables and he was standing with us beside the bar. He was asking about, who are you, where he is from. But to do that now, that wouldn't happen now, because he would get, so many girls would probably climb over him, to get to him, or like Nathan Carter. And yeah, like it's brilliant to be part of before the craze was the craze. And then it became this big thing, which is brilliant, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. It's funny though, because I still hear people say things about the country music scene, even up to like recently or even last year, like, because I would be with my teaching, I would be in a lot of different primary and secondary schools. So I've been in a lot of staff rooms. So obviously when I'm in a staff room, the conversation comes up, country music, and people still go, that's gone very big lately, isn't it? People still are not aware of like what it actually is. And this is people like down here in the west of Ireland, where you can't get much more rural. And I still get the whole, that's gone big enough, that whole scene now. Yeah. It's like that scene over there, it's still kind of, it's not negative, but it's like, so people still don't know kind of.
And I actually have an interesting story to share with you, because this is actually an insight to something that actually happened. I remember going to Derek Ryan, and there was still people going to Derek Ryan when he was moving forward, and there was that crowd was moving forward. But I remember I met this amazing family, and the family, their father works with Derek Ryan, and I was like, I got to meet them, and basically everyone was sent out of the Ryan deal, and for some reason I ended up staying. And back then it was like, I thought about like, it was a backstage, but Derek Ryan at that time was singing "Wake Me Up," and I just happened to just record it, and I put it up on social media, and from there it was like so many people watched it and shared it, and Derek Ryan actually credited the rise in popularity because of that post. That they actually got me back. The manager got me back to do another recording, and it's actually cringe looking back. No disrespect, but I'm actually it's so pre-planned rather than the other one, because the other one was more organic and natural. But I'm actually going, like, I was videoing the crowd then into the Ryan deal, and then Derek Ryan came out and sang to them. It was both very popular to create awareness. But I remember, like, it just shows you the power of social media. And I remember Derek was interviewed in a broadcast, and he said that was one of the reasons why the influx of people came, because the awareness from social media at that time. He seen the "Wake Me Up," and that was people related to that song, And it was bold for him to do that because it wasn't really country, but he made it country. And it was genius. It was actually genius from Derek Graham because he tapped in to an audience that maybe weren't going to the dancing and who weren't interested in country music. But then I remember then after that, the queue to the Randale was like way down the street. And like half the people couldn't get in because of the capacity. So it was genius. And like that video is still up online. You can actually go and see it. And he looked so young back then because it was like, I don't know what year it was, but it was like 10, almost 10 years ago since that, like, you know.
It's you have it in one, like that song did change it big time, like, and it was getting a different type of people into the scene. And I'm just thinking, while you're there talking about social media, like I'm even thinking back, how did we even find out what dances were on 10 years ago when we had social media, but we didn't have it, like how did we even know? Because I would have been going, now I'm a few years younger than yourself, so I would have been I'm going to be 28, so I would have been 18, 19 in college, and I used to be sneaking off. So obviously I was in Limerick, and you know, I was never into the nightclubs really, or the pubs. I'd be hitching a lift to the Woodlands in Adair to go off to the band, like on my own. Like when I got there, as you know yourself, when you go to a dance, you'll end up knowing people. Like I wouldn't bat an eyelid at going to a dance on my own. I've done it, I don't know how many times. You'd head off and you'd know people there, and even if you didn't, but I used to head off to the Woodlands, like in college, off dancing like a lunatic, and people would be saying, "What are you doing?" Like people didn't get it, but that's 10 years ago. Whereas I think a lot more people do get it now.
The answer that, like what you're saying there, for me, it was like word of mouth, you know, and like my friends would say, and then also I would go on and I would actually go in. Exactly, that's what I was about to say. I would actually go in and type in like, I actually didn't go to, like, back then, me and my friend Dan, we used to go to Derek Ryan, just Derek Ryan. Like we used to go just Derek Ryan. We actually didn't know about all these other people. We just used to go to like him, and even like Nathan Carter, we would go to him, but we didn't know really about like the Johnny Brady's, the Patrick Feeney's, the Michael Englishes, the Lisa McHugh's. And then once we found out all these other people, it was like, wow, there's actually more singers. Like, wow, there's more websites I can look up. There's more dances, you know, and that was like a big thing because before then, you know, I didn't really know that there was more dances out there to go to. And that was a big thing because then you could choose and pick, you know, who was on that weekend or who you wanted to go to, which is brilliant because there's variety.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And variety in the sense of venues and bands, but God, the traveling, like when we think back to, I know I'm speaking on behalf of both of us here, but the traveling we used to do, like going back pre-COVID, like, it would be all over the country.
I have a car, Sandra, I have a car, right? My brother's actually now driving it, but because he's just back from New Zealand, and it has like 280,000 miles on it, and majority of those miles were clocked because of dancing. And to be honest with you, I would do it all again. You know what I mean? Because you know yourself and people watching this, when you go to the dances, you're in a trance, in a good trance. You're away from all the other things, whatever's going on in the world, it's when those doors close and you're travel. It doesn't matter if you travel the whole way down to the Ireland. There's times we used to go to Galway. You know, I live up here in Armagh. One time, me and my friend Dan, we used to drive to Kilmany Festival. And then back that night, and he used to go fishing that morning. As soon as we got out of the car, he would go onto the block. You know what I mean? But the miles were clocked up because you had a passion for it. The people you were meeting, the energy. When the doors were closed, there was no other outside, you know, noise or drama. It was just right. You're on the dance floor. You're moving. You're making friends. You're in the energy of music, and yeah, it's brilliant. It's a powerful thing to be part of.
Absolutely. And I suppose, well, what I was going to bring it into now as well was the mental health side of things. You said there, when you go to the dances, you leave everything outside. And when you're at the dance, you're at the dance. And I mean, look, I mean, you've had your own battles with mental health, and I know you work a lot in that line of things. And I'll be honest, myself, I have as well. I think a lot of people, especially younger people, have. But what I mean, I know you're going to agree that dance, the dance scene, dance in general, but dance the Irish dance scene, not the Irish dancing, not river dance, the Irish dance scene has so much to do with good mental health and keeping people going.
And it's brilliant you're bringing this up, because this is really at the core of it why this podcast is really powerful. Because, you know, I remember when I started then teaching, and I'll talk about this later, but there was a woman saying, you know, she used to just dance with her tights, you know, with the door. And another person said they used to dance with a broom. And I was like, back then I would have thought that was mad, but there's actually magic in that, because that's their way of expressing. And when we're teaching here, like outside of the dance scene and outside of the jive and gym thing, we teach about emotional well-being, as you said, mental health. So we teach about emotional well-being. And what really got me into dancing, now looking back, and this is now answering the question in its real form, you know, I used to live a life of depression and live a life of sadness and connection. I didn't really connect with, like, when you go to the bars and the club, you're shouting over music. You're not really connecting as much as, you know, you want to. And this scene really drew out more of my expression. And it was like an awakening for me, because I could move, I could dance, I could talk to girls. At that time I was single. You know, girls were interested in this. It wasn't just drink, and it wasn't just, you know, a large crowd. It was actually people who wanted to pursue music and dancing, and real dancing, you know, with skill. And I was like, I connect with this. So yeah, in relation to the emotional well-being and the mental health, it's so important, because it is a release for people. And that's why, you know, over this last year, I'm talking to people, and especially the older generation, you know, because they're relying on bingo or mass or the jiving scene, you know, and those things have been robbed or stripped of them because of certain things. And I'm like, some of the people are saying, you know, the jiving, looking back now, if they would go every night, they would go every single night when it opens again. If the dance was on every night, they would go, because it's taken them away from the pain or the things that are going on in their life. And there's like this sense of freedom. Their spirit is lifted, the energy is lifted. And when you're a part of that, and when you're in the group setting and people are just happy, and you actually stand back, like from a perception point of view, see when you're standing back in the Moy or down where you are, and you're just looking at people and you're seeing people happy, like that is magic. People actually going out there just to dance the night away with no care in the world, changing partners, meeting new people. It's magic, you know, and it's something that I'm really super excited about going back to and moving forward with when everything opens up.
Oh, same as that. I mean, it is, I cannot wait. It's even mad just to think forward and think when we actually can go back and start dancing again. Yeah. And you have it in one there though, like when you actually watch it, it is magic, like how everything plays out. Like people still don't believe that a guy can ask a girl to dance, and all you'll find out is, well, that's James there, he's from Armagh, and that's all I know. But we had 3 dances, and sure, he was a great dancer, and that's all you might know, and you might never see him again. But that's it. That's literally as simple as it gets. And that's beautiful, like how simple it is.
Yeah, what you're saying, Sandra, is really important, because a lot of people think, right, going out to dancing, there's more to it than you just said it. It's really simple. Like I remember, like the confidence when I went to the dancing, my confidence was elevated. I used to have a lacking of confidence, and for people watch this, maybe they go, seriously, James, you had lacking confidence? I did. And then going to the dancing, like when girls ask even for a dance, even from a man's perspective, and I know sometimes it's good for the man to ask the girl for a dance, but see a girl so confident enough that she knows, like, I'm going over to a man, and it's not romantically, it's just like they're actually invested in wanting to dance with you. Like from a dancing perspective and a boy's perspective, that even lifts you up as well, because men go into it and they may have lacking confidence. And a lot of people I see, most of the time, it is girl on girl. Like the girls go out together, and you know yourself, you're out with your friends, and it's very challenging for men to go out. You know yourself, you went out on your own, and that even for yourself is a big thing. I remember going out to dancing on my own myself, because I didn't want to go to the discos, I didn't want to go to the pubs, and going out on your own is a big thing. But when girls can go over to you and say, do you want to come for a jive? You know, it lifts your spirit, and you're like, even though there's nothing in it, it's just to be asked even, It's really powerful, and you connect with that, and then you could be well dancing with that girl for four or five songs, and the next thing she's saying goodbye, and you may never see her again. You may never ever see her again, and that's happened to me before. But you've had that magic moment of connection with a human being, and next thing you maybe meet her down like 3 or 4 years down the line, you know.
That's exactly it. And it's mad to think that that's actually how it was done. I suppose when we were actively going to the dances, we didn't pass any heed of
No.
what was going on. But now when
Yes.
when we actually discuss it and look at it deeper, it's like the simplicity of it is just so lovely. And
Yes.
to those that are listening, like, I already know James from going to the dances, but I couldn't remember how I actually met him.
Yes.
And it probably was, I know you mentioned it was at maybe a dancing competition, but it probably was, we had danced together, or else like there was no like officialness about it.
Yes, and it never is for people, like, unless it's like I know when I met my fiance, like I know because that was a big official thing, and I'm sure you know. When congratulations, by the way, I know I pointed this out, but you're engaged to Michael. Congratulations! I love the energy of this podcast. I took my jacket off. It reminded me of the dancing when I used to take my shirt and change my shirts, you know, because when you like people used to think when I was on the dance floor, I didn't want to leave the dance floor.
And you have a good bit of energy when you're on the dance floor.
Yeah, and some people actually, you know, or sometimes I actually have to watch that because some people are actually put off by that. And I remember girls when I was like back then, girls were put off by the energy, so I had to actually reel that in a wee bit because I was so enthused. Like, you know, the singers were singing, and I was just so alive and awake. Because bear in mind, I'm coming from depression, and then I'm coming to expression. So my full being's now like a garden bursting into life, to quote the Snow Patrol song. And like I had to then put a wee cap on that, you know. But when you're going out and having the ability to change your shirt several times, you know you've had a good night. I actually remember there was a girl too, and she teaches Tommy Love. And Tommy Love said to me too, you know, she actually went out and changed her dress as well. And I know she doesn't mind me saying that because she's an amazing dancer and she doesn't mind me saying that. But it just shows you when someone has a passion and a desire and you're on the floor and you're dancing, you know, to have then new shirts because you take it seriously. And it's not serious as in right super serious. It's you take it serious enough because it's a passion and it's something that you're expressing. So some people used to ask, you know, why do you change your shirts? Well, I was like, you know, well, I respect every dancer I dance with, and I don't want to, you know, sweat with the person. And every dancer, like, I want to make sure that they're happy and comfortable with dancing with me, and I don't want to be sweating as much as possible. So I want to make their life and their dancing easier for them and the experience. So the next time, and that's my perception of it, you know.
That's very gentlemanly of you, because I would never have thought of it that way. I suppose for a logical point of view, if you're dripping in sweat, you need to change your shirt. Like that's but you're looking at it. Well, obviously that's one side of it. But yeah, I suppose a lot of the moves we would do, the one, as I'd call it, the roll in, roll out, where the girl is in beside you, or a hug, as I'd call it. I like your thinking. I like your thinking.
The one where the hand comes down and slides down.
And the back of the neck.
Yeah, it's like the last thing you want is that energy of, you know, it's better to have a brand new shirt on when you're doing that stuff, you know. So yeah.
For the people that are not watching the video, me and James were acting out dance moves to each other on the screen. We knew what we were talking about. This is virtual jiving at a whole new level.
and I know, and I don't, because you're leading this, the virtual classes, they're not the same. Like, I love virtual classes.
Doing them this year, didn't you?
I did it through me and Hannah. We do Jive and Gym, and to be honest with you, I observe the person and the people on it, but it's like it isn't the same. It is like, it's good, and it's a good different way of moving the goalposts, you know, because we want to get people out and active and express what we do and stuff and serve people, but it's just not the same energy because you're dealing with maybe 6 to 17 screens or more than that. And it's just like to keep them accountable. And because you know yourself from teaching, when you're teaching, you can actually go physically to them and say, correct a bit of your posture or change that or move your feet that way. And you can actually do it physically. Whereas with the Zoom, I think it's very challenging. I thought it was very challenging to really serve them in the way we used to.
Yeah, and I found the way that I'm doing it is from the get-go, to be honest, I didn't look at the screens. Now with the kids, I do a little bit because right and left and that kind of thing. But what I found was I done a course there in January and I just did not look at their screens. I had me, this sounds so self-centered, but I had me as the main screen, because if I had to check, was I in view? Was my feet in view? Could they see? Was I gone too far? So if I couldn't see what I was doing, well, they were going to be gone haywire altogether. So
Yeah.
like whoever would have thought that I would have had a full class of say 40 in front of me, but I was the main screen and all I was doing was looking at myself. But that was the easiest way to make it come across better to them. So it's great to be doing the Zooms, and it keeps us going for sure.
Yeah, it is great and it is, and it's because a lot of people, like, they're waiting for that service too, and let's just pray and believe that everything will open up in due course, and we'll be dancing with each other and with others hopefully very soon.
And I suppose in the meantime, people can go and check out the Jive and Gym Facebook page. So that's spell it there now, just to make sure they get it.
So Jive and Jim, I was referred to as Jive and Jim because my name's James, and then I used to get Jim, and someone said Jive and Jimmy one day. Oh, you're Jive and Jimmy, and I remember another girl. This is also another subject, but one night this drunk girl come up because I'm helping people. Says, "God, you're Jive and Jesus," and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "That's mad, you know." So, but the Jive and Gym, the GYM came from, we do retreats here, and basically I had a flashing image of helping people with the emotions, and it came to me Jivercise, because we have Boxercise, we have all these things. So I wanted to franchise out to Jivercise to help people emotionally and to get them fit. So yes, there's a dance class, but then it's more about, as you said, the mental health part. So I'm actually teaching them about, confidence and what it takes to move forward, and looking at their body language and stuff like that, and Hannah's part of that as well. So yeah, check out the Jive. We're all like, I love this because you're a dance teacher. I teach dance on the side too. And everyone comes from different points of views, and you're doing Jive and juniors, and you teach adults as well. And the beauty is, and one of your questions here too, which gets on to this, is like, there is different styles, as you, like, I find anyway, and this is only my perception, but when you go up really up north, like up north, like I'm in the north, but when you go up north to like Donegal, there's a bit of difference. There is a bit of a difference, and there's a difference in energy, and there's a difference in culture, and there's a difference in language, and how people even deal with each other and move forward and ask people to dance, and I love that because you're going into different styles. When I come then down to your part of the world, it's like, I remember, we wouldn't have seen this in the north when I was moving forward with dancing. People dancing around the floor, as in like quick stepping or foxtrotting around the floor, and we wouldn't have really seen that before because everyone was like jiving. And some of the big crowds and the big scene, the big players, they actually bring an element where there's no dancers. So there's just people on the floor drinking or moving, and they're not dancing at all. And that is the truth. But when I went down to your part of the world, what I loved was there was dancers in the middle, but then around the floor you would see random people, going around to the music, and that opened my mind to the quick step, the foxtrot, and that was like a big thing for me when I went down to your part of the world. It was powerful because it wasn't just jiving then. There was other ways and different styles, and then with jiving there's different styles and different ways of expressing. Even if you watch people dancing, there's different actually ways of expressing the dance and different moves, which is brilliant as well. I'm always learning. I'm
Absolutely.
sure you're the same.
Yeah, and it's funny, even you're reminding me of how the foxtrot and the quick step was not as big a deal up the north. And it's funny because when I first learned to dance, It was quick step and foxtrot. My nanny taught me how to do the foxtrot and the quick step and the waltz when I was 3 and 4.
You had a good teacher.
Oh, thank God. I know. Geez, where would I be if it wasn't for nanny? But like,
well, it's amazing too. It's amazing that she passed that tradition on. It's like, you know, I know we're getting off on a different tangent here, but it's like knitting or like a trade or a skill. Like she passed that on to you, and now you're passing that on to the jiving juniors. So you're actually educating the youth today through jiving because your nanny embedded this into you, and that's like the planting the seed. Now that's a ripple effect. So God knows you're creating teachers in the future when you know you're of an age that maybe you don't want to teach, or you're passing your jiving juniors on to people that you trust, and next thing you're creating a community, and that's amazing. So well done.
You literally just like have it in one. I'm always on about educating the younger ones, because I mean I would have grown up listening to Declan Nerney, to your Dallas. Nanny would have been bringing me to all the concerts, sneaking me in like 8, 9, 10, 11, like so I was always going to things. But that's what I do with my kids, is teach them, my dancing kids, is teach them about Big Tom, Declan Nerney, to your Dallas, not just Nathan and Derek and Lisa. Because yes, they're a big part of the country music scene, but who started the country music scene in Ireland? You have to look back at that.
And I sort of have a wee bit of a pain around this, and I know this may be controversial, but I always say, I think, even the like so singers, is remember who got you to where you are. The dancers paid for your CDs. The dancers paid into the Randale to see us. And some of the singers there, they don't do dances anymore. I'm like just do a one-off night in the Randale, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
You know, just dancers. Just even advertise dancers only.
You have to audition to get in.
But seriously, I feel like, because, you know, as you said, there's other singers and other people who don't really get focused. Like the likes of the Barry Kerwins, the likes of, and there are people out there who are amazing. You know, there are people out there who are actually fantastic singers and entertainers, but they don't really get a look in. And this podcast and what you're doing is powerful, because you're going to have likes these people on who maybe don't get enough airtime in the country scene, or not in the know, or on RTE. And that's brilliant, because there's so many people out there that are just doing this, and there's teachers as well, you know, which is brilliant. So thank you so much for inviting me onto this podcast, because it really means the world.
No problem. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you later, James. I know. The way it sounded like you were saying goodbye there to us.
No, I'm just confused. I haven't. See, I'm really itching for a jive, and like when I'm itching for a jive, I was actually thinking about today when I was thinking about this podcast. I was like, right, should I put music on and just me and you just do an air jive or something? You know.
I'm game for anything. Now you're very lucky, because Hannah, you have Hannah to dance with if you do want to have a jive, which I'm very jealous of, because my fiance is a very good dancer, but we just won't say our styles are similar. So we have to work on that, you know, but he can move, so that's definitely a bonus. But actually going back to the north and the south, it's funny because you said you noticed a difference, and you noticed how the foxtrot and the quick step was more prevalent down south. But what I would have noticed, like I remember being at, like, not my first dance, but I suppose one of the first dances where all the ones from the north came down. So it was probably the likes of yourself. I think it was, because whenever I'm explaining to people, it's so funny, you're probably going to get totally freaked out by this, but whenever I talk to people about the different styles, because one question I get is, people add in different more steps when they're doing the basic steps. I said, no, they don't. I said, they don't. This is the step, but down south, people stay close to the ground, whereas up north, they tend to hop and jump a bit, not like crazy, but like I say, it gets higher. And I used to think of you. You were like my north style.
You know what you're saying there? Yeah, and that's the truth, to be honest with you. And I actually, a video popped up. Me and Hannah watched this last weekend on Facebook Memories, and like
the Jiving Championships actually would have been around now, wouldn't it?
What is it?
Jiving Championships would have been around now, wouldn't it? February.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and yeah, so many things are happening. Monaghan Festival that came on was a big thing, you know. But yeah, what you're saying there is really important, because some people call me Twinkle Toes, and they're like, James, we would see your head more than anybody else, because you
remember that.
Yeah. And Hannah used to say that about me. Hannah went into the Glencairn the first time Hannah seen me. share the story. Yeah, she'll see my head. And it was because I had so much energy. And like, then what happened was I actually had to taper that down because I actually didn't like that style. I was too happy. I was, from my perspective, I was just too lively that I was actually putting girls off, not just romantically, as in common, because I was a single man back then, but it was more like I was just too happy, and I had to taper that down. And that observation, looking back now, I'm very grateful that I made that decision, because sometimes you're going out and some people in the dancing are put off by that. And we'll talk about this too. I don't know if it's down in your neck of the woods, but with anything, there is cliques that come about, and there's friendships that clash, and then people talk and all this stuff. And I don't like that, because you're feeding that energy. I'm like, everyone's here just to have fun. But then you would hear like people talking about people in the dance scene in a negative way, not even an observation way, because you were making an observation about me. But there's people like, and I would hear this, and I'm like, just let them do their thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just let them be them. But I'm delighted that I made the observation that who I was actually being and what I was actually doing was over-expressing. Because you have to remember, again, I was coming from depression in all areas of my life. And then I'm coming to this dancing, and now I'm allowed to be free and allowed to express. And I had to taper that down.
The thing is, though, if me and you were to probably have a dance, you'd probably be able to hop and jump and lip, because I'm also dancing for so many years, and I can adapt. I would also adapt depending on who I'm dancing with. Sometimes if I was dancing with yourself, I would probably be throwing in extra hops and jumps, because so it depends on who you're dancing with.
And then the alternative too, because when I'm going down to your end of the woods, your neck of the woods, I would actually taper down on the liveliness or the happiness as such. It's not saying that these guys aren't lively, but it's more like, because up here in the north, people are conditioned to go, oh, this is the way. But then you go down south and you're like, well, hold on, it's a bit slower, and you have to see where the person's at. And you could hurt someone very easily if you're going over enthused or excited,
Exciting for me, because I've always made these observations, but I've never had confirmation that they are, and it's not true. It's not that they're true. I've never had confirmation that anyone else agreed. Like, I done my thesis on country music, 8 years ago, and I would have made them observations then, but they were never like official. So now, to finally, after the guts of 10 years, to finally hear somebody else saying something similar, I'm like, I was kind of right. Now, we might be the only two in the whole country that think this way. But, and for those of you that are listening to the podcast for the first time, we're saying down south. I'm in Mayo, by the way, so the McWilliam is my local. So yeah, just in case, because it's hard to tell what part of the country I'm from, probably.
Yes, and you're 100% right. It's good to make those observations, and it's actually healthy too, because as it makes, what I feel anyway, it actually evolves your dancing when you see other dancers in different styles, because it's like life. Sometimes we get caught up into our own way, like, this is how I do it. But by you doing this thesis and saying, right, okay, this is right up in the north, it's different, but then down here in Mayo, it's different. But then when the two actually meet, something actually really magical happens, because when they meet, as you said, I adapt and adjust to your style, and you're going to adapt and adjust to my style. So next thing, we're starting to win all Ireland's.
That's the goal, is it? Myself and yourself. I know, yeah. Now, you've done a lot of competitions over the years. I think I've judged it myself.
Yeah.
And yes. I mean, I'm assuming you went into them with it all being a bit of crack. I'm pretty sure, because I know some people do go into it with a very competitive, and it does get very competitive. Even as a judge, I do find it so hard, because there's the same gang of ye in the final in every competition every year, and I'm like, what do I do? And I know you all too, which makes it even harder.
And the beauty about it is, you said there's something important. People actually, and I know this from talking to people perceive me as very competitive. I'm not. I love dancing, But people have asked me before, right? I want to do the dancing, I want to do the competitions. So yeah, I've done many competitions, and it's all for a bit of crack, bit of fun. But there is an element of seriousness to it, because you're going in. It's not all serious, but you're going into, as you say, if you're going to do the lotto, well, you're in it to win it. You know what I mean? You're not doing it because just for the sake of it. Of course, you're doing it not just to win it, but to be part of it. It's all of that. And then if you don't place, there's grace there, because as you said, it's very challenging to pick because there's so many different dance styles and different people. And so, yeah, over the years, I remember then being asked to judge myself. And as you rightly pointed out, it was a junior competition. I think it was Monaghan Festival, the juniors I was judging. And it was challenging because, they're all different and they're young people. And as you said, you just have to make a decision. And it's not anything personal, because it never is. And that's something I realized. It's not.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm butting in there. I was just saying, I remember one year, I can't remember what year, I was judging the Monaghan competition. And I don't even mind saying this, but I remember you and Hannah were in the final, Dan and Louise.
Yes.
There was another young couple from Donegal. I can't think of their names. I think that was
Kieran.
the top three.
Yeah, was it Kieran, was it?
Then there was Narella there, and
Alan.
And
Yeah.
I can't think, but basically it came down to, I know all of these people. Who came first last year? Who came second last year? Who came third? And I was like, okay, so I'll just mix it up. It was so hard. And I mean, everyone isn't so entitled to be there, but the competitions are brilliant to watch. I mean, you're performing. You are performing. The crowd does be just.
Yeah, and the in relation to up here, I don't know, in relation to Monaghan Festival is like the crown jewel in relation to all festivals, because yourself, you're going there. There's an energy, there's a buzz, there's an anticipation for the competition, as in the jiving competitions. So as you said, it's a way to showcase your talent, your skill, your joy. When I won it with Fiona Doyle in 2016, I remember saying to Fiona, we're just going to have fun. Just going to have fun, and we did have that. And that's something that the judge actually said was what stood out was he's had fun and he's were smiling and he's were energetic. And that was one of the reasons. It wasn't even a matter about the moves. It was more about the energy. And as you said, it's very challenging to pick because there are different energies, there's different styles. But fair play to you for putting yourself in that position to pick, because someone has to. And, that's something that has to be done. So I'm looking forward to the next time.
Whenever that'll be, God, we'll get there eventually. We absolutely will. It's exciting. To be honest, it doesn't get me down that these things aren't happening, but I'm so excited for.
And see, in relation, like Dan and Louise won that time, and they deserved it because Dan had never won the Monaghan Festival. And he really deserved it at that time, and it was the right person to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Fact, that was a fact, and I was delighted to see him win, to be honest with you, and having that too, and seeing people because as you said there, you're dancing with your friends, you're dancing with people that you're in the dancing with, and then that does create a bit of competition, but it's not because we're here to promote each other and celebrate each other's successes. And seeing other people win, that's a brilliant thing, because it's not, it's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
It is. It's overall, the country music scene in Ireland is a good thing, and the dancing scene, for anyone that's listening that have been thinking about, well, I know now is not the ideal time to be getting involved, but thinking about it for maybe in a few months' time. I mean, I'm hoping that this podcast has sold it for you, because we've just talked about literally. I don't think anything negative has been said about the scene.
Yeah, and one of the questions you did ask, what is your least favorite thing about the scene? And I was thinking about that. I was like, one of my least favorite things about the scene is there's not enough nights to go out to dance. There's not enough nights out. There's not enough. You can always do more.
Definitely not enough at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. True.
So moving on, I told you we were going to do a quick fire round.
Woo.
Yeah, pressure's on now. And I
Is there
have
any prizes? Is there any prizes for this?
no, it's just the glory of being able to answer them nice and quickly. Yeah, so they're just quick fire. I have about 10 here, and we'll see what happens. This is the beauty
So
of
do you want one word, or just want a sentence, or
one sentence. That's it.
oh, okay.
You're not allowed to talk too much. Okay. Is that going to be hard for you now?
That can be a bit challenging, but I can nasal breathe and relax.
Okay, right. So quick fire round with James Mcgrath. Who is your favorite American country music singer?
Oh, Glenn Campbell.
What is your favorite country song?
I'm going to go for Living Life, Loving You. You know, Sunday, Monday. That one.
Patrick Feeney, good one, good choice. The next one is, do you prefer to jive or waltz? But I think I know the answer to this one.
That's an excellent question. I'm going to go for jive. Yeah, I'm going for jive. I'm going to go for jive.
Thought you would. Who is your favorite Irish singer?
Oh, who's my favorite Irish singer? I don't want to insult anybody because they're all amazing in their own way, but personally, voice-wise, Patrick Feeney. Like when he sings Bull of Oak, the tears, you know, Patrick Feeney.
I'd be up there as well. What is your favorite venue to go and dance at?
Oh, there's so many. Venue. Can I include festivals in this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Sorry to all the Monaghan people, but I'm gonna go to Kilmany. I love Kilmany Festival. I just love Kilmany Festival. Love it.
That is a good choice. Do you play an instrument? I know you do.
Yeah, I actually play guitar, a bit of harmonica. I play also a bit of piano. Also, I sing a bit as well. Yeah.
And tell us something we don't know about you.
Oh, something you don't know about me.
A tough one for you. You gone on me there, because
and to connect with those people.
first
Because
it stopped, it froze. So start saying that again.
it's okay.
Yeah, I'll cut this bit out. But start again and just say. So pretend I've just asked you the question.
Yeah. So the thing that people don't know about me, I was invited to speak in New York as part of the job I'm in, the mission, the profession I'm in. But we were speaking to an Irish community, and to talk to them, and just because I was talking about my story and what I'm about and what I represent, but also then we're going to talk about dancing. And a lot of these guys missed home. A lot of these guys missed the Irish culture, because jive and country music is part of Irish culture. And for me to come over there, they really resonated with that. And we had a few dances after the event. And yeah, I love just, there's people out there across the world, and who knows, maybe watching this podcast. And this is actually giving them a flavor and a taste of home. And it's very lonely out there for some people and isolated all across the world. So if we can inspire them and give them a flavor of Irish culture again, we've done our job. We can sleep tonight.
That's lovely. Fair play to you. And last question, what is your favorite quote?
Oh, my favorite quote. That's a good one, because I'm in this space of helping people. So like, I love, like, it stems way back, because I'm big into obviously spirituality and different things like that, you know. But if you you have not because you ask not. So that actually, it states that in the Bible. You have not because you ask not, you know. So ask people for dances, ask people for a jive, because maybe you're standing at the end of the you know, the dance scene or the floor, and all you have to do is ask.
Simple.
Yeah, it's simple. You know, that's one of my favorite quotes, but that would be up there. I have not because I haven't asked.
Very good. I knew you'd be a good man for the quote, so I threw that question in at the end. So you survived the quick the quick fire round. You just about managed not to talk too much, so that was good going.
I've done well.
I think you did. No, fair play to you. I knew this podcast would be a long one anyway, though, because number one, we were catching up. Number two, we're both newly engaged, so we had lots to discuss about weddings, and then just generally chatting about the scene. And I knew you were a good and chatty one to get on. But no, it's been so lovely to catch up with you, and just I'm so buzzed now after having talked about the dance scene.
And even getting to know you more, Sandra, too, because you're doing amazing. And like, this is providing value. People sat last night, right, watching 2 hours of Megan and Harry. Right? Exactly, right? So this podcast, right? People watching this, they connect with us. There's good people watching this, and they're going to reach out to you and say, thank you, Sandra, because you and James talked about it, resonated with me. You know, so thank you all for watching this. Sandra, you're doing amazing. Keep up the good work. And someday I'll be back on to see how you're getting on. Hopefully not. Maybe we'll be seeing each other in person very soon too.
Oh, we absolutely will. And I didn't even go and talk about your social media accounts, but as of this evening, you had 44,000 followers on Facebook and 10,000 on Instagram. What the hell is going on over there?
Yeah, it's just a community of people who, you know, who need help and who want to connect. And yeah, it's something I do outside of the dancing, and now I'm doing it professionally, and I love it. It's something that I love to do, and to be able to connect with people on a personal note, and just to see where they're at. And as you said, you mentioned about mental health, emotional well-being, you know, I do feel these things, these stories, the beauty about, and we'll leave with this, the beauty about the Irish culture, it's embedded into us, is stories and folklore and tales. And the more we share, the more we learn and love from each other. Like, we keep that tradition. As your nanny passed on the tradition of dancing and moving forward with that, and now you're passing that tradition on. Sitting down to listen to this podcast, I'm going to really watch this. I'm going to listen to this myself and share it on my platforms for you, you know, and get people to subscribe and like your Irish Country podcast, you know. So thank you. Really, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. I was so excited coming on anyway, but I'm just leaving this chat feeling like I feel like I've just been at a dance. I feel totally excited, totally uplifted. I mean, aside from the dancing, you are just so inspirational and so positive. And look, I suppose we touched very slightly on how you did suffer from depression before, and you have had your own personal issues. And I mean, if people want to find out more about that, you have bits and bobs up on your page. Are you still going as Passing Through, or are you James Mcgrath?
We're Passing Through on Facebook, and there's actually an inspirational movie, a short movie that was made about the Passing Through, and in it, there's an amazing story of a girl called Amber Getty, and her dream was to meet Nathan Carter. And I actually really get emotional about this, but it's good. Her dream was to meet Nathan Carter. And her mum said to me, you know, this is what she listens to every night. This girl has a lot of challenges, and she's wheelchair bound for life. And I was like, well, I'm in the dance scene and I can make this happen. And I don't want to ruin the movie or the thing for people out there, but if you watch it, thanks to people out there who shared the post, the magic happened. And thank you for promoting the Passing Through, because it's more about communities, community based, and what a person watching can get from it, more than myself delivering it. And that's, as you know yourself, dancing and teaching people to dance, it's not about really us. It's more about them. It's more about what they connect with and what they get from. Yes, we're delivering and we're doing our thing and we're teaching, and that's what I'm all about. But it's also what the person's getting on the other end. So serving with a purpose. And that movie, that film, short film, it's only like 20 minutes. It's a short film. It captures that, and it brings you through that journey of how Amber Getty got to that stage of that dream being achieved. So thanks to Nathan Carter too for that as well.
That sounds amazing. I'm definitely going to go and check that out. And so can you guys. So Passing Through on Facebook, and then you're down as James Mcgrath on your Instagram page. And I know you're popping up inspirational videos and chatting to people. And as you said, it's a community. So definitely go and check James out on them social media platforms. And James, thank you so much. It's been so great to chat to you. And please tell Hannah we said hello. And hopefully we'll be able to have a dance very, very soon.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. See you soon.
Thank you
See
so
you
much
later.
for tuning in to another episode, series 2 of the Country Chats podcast. Stay safe, mind yourselves, and I will chat to you all very, very soon.